And greetings. Peace and greetings. Goddess Queen Jameelah here. And I'm going to a football match today. It's going to be the first football match that I am going to that will be um, played by Tanzania. So it's going to be Tanzania versus Morocco. So today is the new moon. I hope you're having a wonderful day so far. And today I am talking about deception and spirituality. Okay. It's time for us to have that conversation about deception and spirituality. You're going to like this conversation because it's going to help you to choose your practitioner, choose a spiritual practitioner, choose someone who can help you if you are looking to do spiritual work, if you're deepening your spiritual journey, and it's going to help you to be able to vet people better in this arena. Um, so again, I'm Goddess Queen Jameelah. I am a priestess, ceremonialist, Oshun Priestess. I am a spiritual life coach, a professor. I am the owner of Mama Ma'ati, which is an herbal tincture that I make for women who have fibroids and want to dissolve fibroids. And I'm a wife, I'm a mama, I'm all the things, right? And I want to have this conversation with you today about spiritual teachers, spiritual um, leaders, people who you might enlist for assistance because we don't talk about this enough. Like, we don't really sit down and talk about how to choose a priestess, how to choose someone who can help you, how to choose the right teacher. And what I find is that there are so many people in the social media space who are spiritualists and spiritual advisors and witches and this and that and shamans. Like, there's there is we're oversaturated with people with so-called titles, but there's not as much like vetting. There's not as much inquisition and inquiry into what really qualifies a person, and really knowing if the person that you've chosen is like high level. Are they covered? Are they protection under what ordinance? So I know that there's just a lot of different layers, so I'm going to try to piece it take it piece by piece, and I have my notes here, so that's why I'm looking at my phone. So yeah, like I said, some of y'all have been online and looking at different content and learning from different people on the social media platforms. But some of these people are very untrained, and I will say that there is a high coincidence, and I don't know if it's just me and my observative mind, but I've made a linkage between a lot of the people who are in the spiritual space and doing readings and stuff and the beauty industry. Like, they used to be former beauticians or nail technicians or makeup artists, doing hair and etc. They used to be in some sort of glamour work, and they went from glamour work into readings and spiritual work and spells and etc etc. And so there's a high percentage of that, and I would always ask things like, well, what qualifies someone to be in this level of work? Like, doing spiritual work, that's an abstract term nowadays. What does that mean? And what qualifies somebody to be a spiritualist, really? And what I want to point out to you is the fact that most of the spiritualists that you see are self appointed, which is very dangerous. And it's very dangerous because in this world that we live in, as indigenous people, what's been given to us is tradition. And when it comes to tradition, in the world of tradition, you are not self appointed, you are not self ordained. Even in the world of religion, you are not self appointed and self ordained. And the reason why you are not self appointed and self ordained is because spirit is energy. this is energy, this is frequency, this is a lot of entities circulating, this is different things circulating and existing outside of yourself. So in order for you to make sure that you are covered and protected, you can't be covered and protected if you don't have something protecting you. You don't have any tradition. What are you basing everything on? What is everything being based on? If you're coming as a man of one, you're coming in isolation, you don't, where's your protection? So when we talk about spiritualists and teachers, when we talk about priestesses, people who are working in the spiritual realm, there has to be some sort of backing, which is why people fall into the realm of Christianity so often, because at least for them there's a process, there's a procedure, there's rankings, there's hierarchies, there's this person and there's a person higher. This is what makes things like this safe for human beings. And so that's why spirituality, the world of spirituality, spiritualists can seem so unsafe, because where is the hierarchy? Who are they answering to? What are they praying to? What do they believe in? And who are they answering to? And these are some of the kind of questions that you have to ask. When you're attracted to a spiritualist and you see a spiritualist on YouTube, you see a spiritualist on TikTok, you see a spiritualist on Instagram, before you start signing up, before you start, jumping in both feet, before you start taking their practices under your wing, you have to do some research. You have to do some research. Ask questions like, how long have they been doing it? How long have they been doing it? Because if they just started doing it 2 years ago, that's not it. And I have to say this. If you're watching, please subscribe and like the video. Feel free to share it. But I have to say this because I noticed that there was a lot of like fanfare around a particular situation online. And this happened like 2 years ago. This is not a recent situation. But there was a white lady who started making videos online, and in her video she was saying that she was channeling Oshun. Okay, that's what she was saying in her videos, that she was channeling Oshun. Now, if you know anything about tradition, if you know anything about African spirituality, I know 100% you know who Oshun is. This channel is called Black Women's Healing House, Mind, Body, and Spirit. So black women, we got to know who Oshun is. Oshun, if you don't know and you're a black woman, let me take it easy on you. I'm only gonna say this one time, maybe twice. But Oshun is a deity, a goddess who existed in Yoruba times many, many, many years ago. And this goddess was the first goddess. Okay, she's the original goddess of this Ifa tradition. And within Ifa, Oshun was the being who directed the waters, river waters to be specific. Jameelah was the force over the ocean, right? The big water, the ocean, and then at the bottom of it was Olokun, or Ajay Olokun, who was the daughter of Olokun. But for the most part, Oshun, the first deity, the first Ifa deity that is goddess, she was director over river water, waterfall, etc., etc. And the story of Oshun is a beautiful story about being there at the beginning of the creation. And there's all these other gods that are male deities, and they're doing this and building that and doing this and building that, and they're doing so much that they lose sight of Oshun. And when they lose sight of Oshun, things are not going well, because you need the female entity in order to balance the world out. The world cannot be balanced by masculine energy alone. So they need that female entity. They ignored her. Oshun got upset. She got an attitude. She withdrew and crawled up in a tree. She didn't get mad and start to fight and start to gangbang. She didn't get mad and say, forget about you, whatever. No, she crawled up in a tree and said, no, I'm not going to do this. So they went to Olodumare, which is the Most High, and Olodumare said, where is the goddess that I gave you? I gave you a goddess. Where is she? And they had to go back and apologize to Oshun. So this white lady was online talking about she had started channeling Oshun. And all of the E5 priestesses were not happy. All the E5 priestesses were like, "Ma'am, I need you to have several seats," right? Because it's a blow. It's blow after blow after blow. We've taken too many L's. Peace and greetings. We've taken too many L's. Black women, black women, black women. We have taken too many L's. Okay, we're not gonna do all that. All right. And after all of the L's that we've taken, here comes Sarah trying to come and talk about, oh, channeling Oshun. Baby, where did you come from, and with whose authority are you channeling anything? And there's a lady online. She is a diviner and a reader and everything, and she made a very good point when she said that when it comes to white women and a lot of these deities and these spiritual energies, white women do not have the fortitude. They're not strong enough. They don't have that anchoring. Okay, that they're weak in essence when it comes to these different spiritual entities. So they're not really equipped to be doing all of that, right? And so you have to be in a place of discernment, yes, but you have to actually do research and find out more about people that you admire. It may be someone outside of the spiritual realm. There may be someone that you're admiring and you're saying, oh, they're a great teacher. And, I learned so much. Okay, but where are they getting their information from? Did you do research on them? Did you do research on them? Did you do anything where you could find out more about them? Feel free to subscribe to the channel, like, share, all the things. Are there any questions so far? Because I know a lot of times when I'm teaching, I'm just dropping the gems, dropping the wisdom, dropping the gems. Are there questions so far about what I'm saying? Any insights about what I've said so far? I'm literally just talking about vetting your spiritualists, vetting the people that you are trying to learn from, that you want to learn from, that you're interested in learning from. You have to vet them, right? And a lot of times, the being covered and the having the spiritual backing, that's the most important part. People are afraid, genuinely afraid to work with spirituality, genuinely afraid. And they're genuinely afraid to work in the spiritual realm because spirits can be scary. If you don't know what's out there, you can't see it. It's a feeling. You don't know what it's going to do. Is it here to help you? Is it here to harm you? That can be very, very scary. That can be very, very scary. Working in that spiritual domain, that can be extremely scary. So this is why covering, this is why protection is so important. This is why it's important. That's why it's important to know, well, okay, you're working in tradition. Which tradition is it? And how are you being protected? How can I stay protected? Okay. That covering is very important. So for me, let me talk about my covering to give you an example. So in the very beginning of my journey, when I started to do any kind of spiritual work, like before I even entered like the full realm of spirituality, I was in the realm of consciousness, like just being conscious, being aware, being present. And during that time of my life, I was meditating every single day. Meditating every single day, clearing my energy every single day, clearing my thoughts every single day, and just sitting with myself, okay? Peace and greetings. Just sitting with myself every single day, clearing my thoughts every single day. So meditation every day was my thing. I incorporated yoga to match my mind with my body. And then as I started to move along in my journey, I started to read books. Okay, I read books by a lot of the spiritual teachers. I read books by Louise Hay, Iyanla Van Zandt, like just reading a lot of different books to enhance my understanding of consciousness and spirituality. And as I went along, what I will say is that my first layer of protection was meditation. Meditation was my first layer of protection because what it did was it allowed me to stabilize myself. I wasn't so out there, riddled with anxiety and confusion and lack of clarity and lack of focus. Like meditation will help you to be inside and sit within yourself. So I did a lot of that. But then as I moved further along in the journey, my journey became about connecting ancestrally. My journey became about seeking to get rooted, and the roots are the ancestors. I did a lot of work to understand myself, but then ultimately I came into a certain point of my life where I started to forge a relationship with those who had come before me. Those who had come before me, who poured into me, who had something to offer me, who were looking out for me, who were always praying for me. I started to forge a relationship with the people who had come before me. So that ancestral relationship was my second layer of protection. That was my second layer of protection and my second covering. And the covering didn't just exist because I had ancestors. The covering existed because I started pouring energy into my ancestors. I started acknowledging my ancestors, calling my ancestors by name. So that ancestral portion of it was a really big portion. Then there were tools that also aided in covering and protection. And a lot of these tools I talk about in my book, Goddess Awakening, which is available on Amazon and on Audible. If you download the book, if you read the book, there's a whole chapter on spiritual tools. And these spiritual tools are designed for your protection. These are things to help you stay protected as you're on your spiritual journey and doing your spiritual work. You cannot be out here dealing with spirits and dealing with spiritual energies and entities and you're wide open. Your booty's out. You're exposed. You're not protected. There's nothing covering you. You're out. You're like a deer in an open field because you're not protected and you're not covered. That's the least wise thing that you can do. The very least wise thing that you can do. And I will say to you, because I need you to fully understand this, not only is it unwise, but it's also white man's tactics. It's also Western tactics. It's also the way that the colonizer moves. It's also the way that the patriarchy moves. This concept that I can just get up and do anything that I want to do because I feel like doing it, that's non-POC. That's non-indigenous. That's a white man's way of moving through the world. It's not an indigenous way. It's not a black woman's way of moving through the world. It's not the way we move. Can't nobody just come in your house just because they felt like coming in your house. That's not the way we move. We don't move like that. Even if you having a birthday party, somebody can't just bring somebody to your house because you was having a birthday party. You don't know that person. That's not the way. We don't move with that level of entitlement. We don't move with that level of entitlement. That's a colonizer's mindset. Okay, so I want to make sure that I emphasize that a lot of the ways that we have seen and observed people moving, even within the spiritual world and the spirituality realm, it has a lot of Western twang to it because it's a very, well, I felt this and I can, no, baby, no. Go a little deeper. Take a class. Do a rites of passage program. Get a teacher. Get someone to guide you through it. Get someone to lead you through it. There's nothing wrong with leadership, you all. There's absolutely nothing wrong with saying, you know what, I don't know. And I know that you know the things that I don't know. And I'd like to know if you can assist me in knowing more about what you know that I don't know. There's nothing wrong with saying that. There's nothing wrong with acknowledging that you don't know. And there's nothing wrong with asking the person that knows, can you tell me a little bit more about what has helped you to know? As I mentioned to you, I'm a ceremonialist. Where did I get into ceremonialism? Through plant medicine ceremonies. I've been sitting in plant medicine ceremonies myself for several years. Then after I have sat with myself for this many years, then I started to hold space for others in sister circles, in goddess circles, and did that for years as well. It's a process. It's a process. There's no race. You don't have to try to skip to step 4 before you get through steps 1 and 2. It's a process. You got to take it step by step. You can't just run, That's not our way. That's not our way. Okay? So, definitely for me, I mentioned that the second step was ancestral. The third step was tools, using physical tools. Then the fourth step, rites of passage. I went through rites of passage. I would say that my first rites of passage was a level of solo traveling. So I started solo traveling in 2011. And when I started solo traveling in 2011, I wasn't just going to places just because I saw something in a brochure or in a magazine or online. I went to places that my spirit was calling me to go to, because again, this is a spiritual relationship. And in solo traveling, one of the places that I went, one of the most powerful places that I went was to Bahia, Brazil. I went to Bahia, Brazil by myself. Went there by myself. And when I went there by myself, I really injected myself into all things spiritual, into all things candomblé. If you don't know, candomblé is the Brazilian form of Ifa. It is what emerged from the Ifa traditions that had traveled from Nigeria to Brazil. Just a little quick history. Brazil had the largest population of slaves in the transatlantic slave trade. The largest population of slaves in the transatlantic slave trade came from Nigeria and went to Brazil. Nigeria has the highest number of Black people in the world, and Brazil has the highest number of Black people in the Americas. All right, Brazil. So out of the Ifa tradition that they had in Nigeria, you have a Brazilian influenced version of Ifa, which is candomblé, which ironically in many parts of Brazil is actually more authentic than some of the practices in some areas and parts of Nigeria. It's very, very authentic. So I entered my first rites of passage program in that solo traveling journey, going to places like Brazil, going to the Museum of Yemaya in Brazil, going to the Candomblé temple in Brazil, injecting myself spiritually that way, culturally and spiritually. After that journey as a solo traveler, my second layer of rites of passage was and let me continue it. I didn't just go to Brazil. I went to Brazil by myself. I went to Curacao by myself. I traveled to Trinidad and Tobago by myself. I went to Paris by myself. I went to Amsterdam by myself. I went to London by myself. I went to all these different places completely solo. I went to the Dominican Republic, all these different places. Then I came on over to the African side of things. And then I went to Egypt again by myself. I went to Gambia, I went to Senegal, I went to all these different countries in Africa, solo dolo. And I'm telling you this because I want you to understand that traveling in and of itself, when done with intention, can be its own level of rites of passage. Traveling, especially solo traveling, because the lessons that you are learning along the way are lessons that that version of yourself is trying to teach you. You have other versions of yourself in these other places. You may think, well, I'm from this particular country. Yes, you are from this country. However, there's a version of you that exists in other places as well. There's a version of you that exists in other places as well. So what do I mean when I say a version that exists? That version is still you, but it's you in a Nordic aspect. It's you in the Americas. It's you in the Caribbean. It's another layer, another version. So rites of passage through travel, then rites of passage through actual formalized classes. I went through Queen Afua's sacred. Each gateway is offering you lessons so that you can dive deeper into your healing journey. So I went through that official rites of passage program. I went, and that's a comedic rites of passage program. Then I took it a step further. Then I went through a rites of passage program for a priestess. I went through the Ifa initiation. Ifa initiation requires you to cut off all of your hair. So I cut off all my hair and I went through the Ifa, Iyanifa priestess initiation. So when we talk about initiation, when we talk about rites of passage is actual real things. These are formalized programs that exist to walk you through several stages as you rise up the rankings to be in a spiritual level. When I say I am a high priestess, I didn't give myself that title. I'm not self entitled. I'm doing that. I am entitled by merit of the work that I've done. The sacrifice wants to. Okay. There. Type me a message. Okay. So, like the video, subscribe. My husband is calling. I'm gonna run. Um, Let me just take 2 minutes and close out. So I talked about rites of passage. I talked about ancestral covering. I talked about the stages of awakening, and I want to remind you that these are all examples on how what I'm doing is not it's not about performing. You wouldn't even have known what I've done, the processes that I've been through. You wouldn't have known what I've done unless you have to do your research. You have to do your research. If you're thinking about learning a particular type of spiritual practice, if you're thinking about diving into more spiritual work, then I would say join the WhatsApp group. Join our WhatsApp group and start with the compassion course. If you're at the beginning level and you're trying to figure out, like, where do I start? I know something is going on. I know I'm changing. I know I'm stepping into a new stage of awareness. The compassion course is a foundational block. It's a great beginner's block. It's a great 101 type of situation. When you're starting, you're usually in a place of isolation. But the good thing about the compassion course is that it offers you community. So you get a chance to talk about some of these things that you may be experiencing inside. So I'm going to run, but we will continue to keep the conversation lines open. Thank you so much for joining me today. You can check freedomfeminine.com